So here is the box pack of the VIOFO A119 Mini 2, and on top of the box they have specified all the features. The main highlighting feature being it comes with a Sony Starvis 2 sensor. So it has a 2K resolution which supports HDR. So on the bottom again they have provided certain detailed specifications such as the Starvis 2 sensor, multiple exposure HDR, 2.4 GHz and 5 GHz Wi-Fi along with voice control. So this is a very important feature. Again, on the side of the box they have specified that it has a 1440p resolution support, super night vision, GPS logger, voice control, an optional Bluetooth remote as well, and a parking mode. On the back of the box again the features are described in about 6 different languages. Let's take a look at what they have mentioned here. It supports a resolution of 2560 into 1600p at 30 frames per second and 2560 at 1440p at 60 frames and 30 frames per second. It supports a Sony Starvis 2 Type 1/2.8 inch IMX675 image sensor. It has support for intelligent voice control, built-in high-speed dual-band Wi-Fi 2.4 and 5 GHz, built-in GPS logger, supports advanced parking mode, and supports micro SD cards up to 256 GB. On the other side of the box, they have given QR codes to download the VIOFO app on both the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. So let's dive down into the box and take a look at the contents inside. So right on top you have the VIOFO branding. So if I open up this box here, you have the dash camera enclosed in a plastic cover. So let's take it out. Ooh. So this is a very miniature camera. It's almost like a toy here. So you can see in the scale of the camera compared to the size of my hand, it fits well within the palm of my hand. And that's a very cool thing, I think, because this will be very easy to conceal and it will be difficult to identify that there's a dash cam in the car. So this small form factor is really a plus point for me. So I'm really impressed with this small size form factor of this dash cam. So for the time being, let's keep this aside and jump into the box and take a look at what else is inside. So you get a user manual for the Mini 2. So this will be helpful for all those who want to take a detailed look at all the specifications of the camera. You have this slip which says read before installation, and on the back they have provided certain instructions, and it says that to prevent manufacturing errors, please test all the cameras and accessories before installation. They have provided certain steps such as check if GPS module is mounted on the camera, check if the GPS module can supply power, remove all protective films from both camera lens, insert the micro SD card, check if the front dash cam can record normally, and lastly, if your dash cam has 2 or 3 channel cameras, connect the rear camera, check if there is a rear camera view on the front camera screen. So these are some of the must-read instructions before installation. There are also 2 electrostatic stickers provided, which you can either use or not use based on your requirement or based on your convenience. Following this, you also have a professional customer service card which provides all the details such as their website, their email address, phone and WhatsApp number, and also a live chat option. On the back they have specified the warranty policy, the product registration and video sharing details. They have given a pictorial representation of how you have to go about in wiring the dash cam in order to reach the 12-volt socket within your car. So you have this wiring crowbar, so that this helps you in installation of the dash cam. So here is a Type-C cable with a L-shaped connector at one end, and at the other end you have a Type-A USB port. Following this, you also have a 12-volt car adapter with 2 distinctive USB ports. So let's keep them here for now. Then you have what I think is a data transfer cable with a Type-C port at one end and a Type-A port at the other. Then as the last item in the box, you have this extra 3M sticker, just in case if you need to replace the sticker or you want to replace the position of the dash cam in your car maybe in the future, you can make use of this extra 3M sticker. Coming to the dash camera, so the first button here is a menu button and it also works as power on and off. The second one is the menu up or recording start stop button. So the third one is the menu confirm and video product and playback button. So the fourth button is the menu down, microphone enable or disable button. Following this, you have the Wi-Fi on and off button. On the other side, you have the Type-C USB port. Below that, you have slot for the micro SD card. Taking a look at the other side, here is the reset button. And also on the screen, you have the power status indicator, you have the recording status indicator. Following that, you have the microphone status indicator and the Wi-Fi status indicator. Coming to the front of the dash camera, on top you have the USB power port for this dash cam. So if you can take a look here. So here is the USB Type-C port. Then you have the mount which doubles up as a GPS module, and finally the lens of the dash camera. This camera also does get some optional accessories which are mentioned in the user guide. So as you can see here, they provides details regarding the optional accessories. You do get a CPL filter for this dash cam. You do get an optional Bluetooth remote control, and you also get a HK4 hardware kit. Now I've already made a detailed video on the hardware kit of the VIOFO. You can take a look at that on my channel. Coming to the most important aspect, the Mini 2 comes at a price of 15,999, that is 16,000 rupees. It supports a resolution of 2.7K, that is 2592 into 1944p at 30 frames per second, and supports a resolution of 2K, that is 2560 into 1440p at 60 frames per second. It has the latest Sony Starvis 2 IMX675 sensor. It supports multiple exposure HDR. It has intelligent voice control. It also has an aperture size of f1.6. On the back of the camera, you can find a 1.5-inch LCD display. It has a dual band Wi-Fi support with both 2.4 GHz and 5 GHz Wi-Fi. It has advanced parking modes such as auto event detection, support by buffered parking. It has time-lapse mode of 1, 2, 3, 5 and 10 frames per second. It also supports low bitrate recording. The GPS is built in within the windshield mount. It also supports optional Bluetooth remote, a CPL filter and a HK4 hardware kit. And it also supports a high endurance microSD cards up to 512 GB. Coming to the daytime sample from this dash camera, so as you can see, this is recorded at a resolution of 2592 into 1944 at 30 frames per second, and these were quite overcast conditions from the time where I was shooting. Taking a look at the license plate read, now I can see the license plate is pretty much clear. A slight bit of noise due to a lesser resolution when compared to a 4K cam, but nevertheless still a very good license plate read in such dim overcast conditions. The overall video footage quality looks very much natural. The brightness, contrast, saturation, sharpness levels are reproduced accurately to what our naked eyes can see. Well, I couldn't make out the difference if this was a camera footage or if this is footage which I am seeing with my own eye. So the accuracy in terms of the color saturation, in terms of brightness, contrast is very much good, and this is something really excellent from this mini dash camera. And considering the fact that it can give such a good video quality in dim, overcast, cloudy conditions, I expect this camera can perform even better in bright sunlit conditions and can give equally good footage in night conditions as well. So before proceeding with the installation, clean the area of the windshield where you want to install the dash cam. Following that, take a compatible microSD card, preferably a VIOFO high endurance memory card, and insert it into the memory card slot of the dash camera. Press it gently until you hear a small clicking sound. Take out the lens cover from top of the lens, and following that also take out the 3M sticker covering tape from the windshield mount, which also doubles up as your GPS module. Then stick the dash camera on the selected area of the windshield. Press around the camera gently for proper adhesion. Make sure that there are no gaps between the sticker tape and the windshield. Then insert the Type-C USB power cable into the Type-C port of the dash cam. Following it, take the wire and conceal it on the top trim or the top beading of the car. Then take the 12 volt adapter from the dash camera box and insert it into the 12 volt socket of the car. Once the adapter fits in, insert the other end of the power cable, which is a USB-A port, into the car charger. Then turn on the engine of the car. Once the car turns on, the dash camera should start automatically. While taking a look at the display, adjust the camera angle so that you get a proper orientation of the video. Now the VIOFO A119 DASHCAM is ready to use. So now let's begin with showing you how you can connect the dash camera to your smartphone. So first heading into the VIOFO app. So here you go. As soon as you open up the app, you have a button at the bottom which says connect your camera. If you go ahead and click on that, it will start to search for the Wi-Fi network of the dash camera. So make sure you have turned on the Wi-Fi within the dash cam by clicking on the respective button. So once you have done that, click on the continue button. So here it provides the default Wi-Fi name and password on the screen, so you can take a look at this and enter the same password in the Wi-Fi menu settings. So let's head on to the Wi-Fi menu settings, and here as you can see the VIOFO Wi-Fi network has popped up. So I'll just click on that.
Wi-Fi connected.
So since I have already entered the password, it is going to connect to the dash cam automatically. So let's head back onto the app. So now as you can see, the dash cam now has successfully connected to the smartphone via the VIOFO app, and it is currently streaming live video footage on the smartphone. So in order to enter into the settings of the dash cam, you first need to stop the recording by clicking on the red button right below. So as soon as I clicked on that, the recording now has stopped, and I have entered the in-app settings of the dash camera. So on top you have the first option, which is the video resolution, and if I click on that, you get a sub menu at the bottom, and this gives you a variety of resolution and frame rates which you can select for this dash cam. The top resolution being 2592 into 1944p at 30 frames per second. Following that, you have the 2560 into 1600 at 30 frames per second. Then you have the 2560 into 1440p at 60 frames per second. Following that, the same resolution at again 30 frames per second. Then again a 2560 into 1080 at 60 frames per second, following that by 30 frames. Then you have a 1296p resolution at 30 frames, again a 1920 into 1080, that is a full HD resolution at 60 and 30 frames per second. So you have a lot of flexibility in terms of resolution and frame rates which you can select for this dash camera. So I'll just select the top resolution for the moment. Following this, you have the next option, which is a loop recording. So if I click on that, again you have a lot of options here, starting from turning off the loop recording entirely or keeping a loop recording up to 1, 2, 3, 5 and even maximum of 10 minutes. So I'll just keep it at 1 minute for the time being. Then the third option is to enable or disable the mic. Following this, you have the exposure value option, and if you click on that, you can set the exposure value to the highest or the lowest level based on your requirement. So this is more of a professional option, and play around with this option only if you know exactly what you're doing. So the following option is the HDR, that is higher dynamic range. So you can enable or disable it or keep it even at auto settings, so that the camera itself recognizes when to activate the HDR and when to deactivate it. Following this, you have the auto HDR time. In this, you can select the time duration you want the HDR to be turned on and select the time duration you want the HDR to be turned off. Then you have the motion detection option, which you can enable or disable. So there's a switch right here, so you can enable that as well. Then you have the G sensor option, for which you can select the sensitivity as low, medium or high, and you can even turn it off completely. Following this, you have the date stamp, which will put up a date on the video recorded. Then you have the bitrate option, which can select low, medium or high. I'll select it at the highest setting, so let's click on OK button. And following this, you have the time lapse recording option. So if you click on that, you have the option to turn it off completely. You have the option to have a time lapse for 100 milliseconds, 200 milliseconds, 1 second, 2 seconds, and this goes all the way up to 10 minutes as well. Following this, you have the system settings option, wherein you have the Wi-Fi channel option. You can click on this and select the required Wi-Fi channel you want the dash cam to use. You have 2.4 GHz, 5 GHz and 5.8 GHz as well. Following this, you have the time zone option, and if you click on that, you can set the accurate time zone depending on your geographical location. Following this, you have time synchronization, which you can use to synchronize the time and date with your smartphone. Then you have the date format as DD-MMYY or MMDDYY and all the other standard date formats. Then you have the boot delay option, and if you click on that, you can select the boot delay up to 5 seconds and 10 seconds based on your requirement. So I'll just turn it off for now. Then you have the parking mode option, in which you can turn it off completely or you can select auto event detection. Then you have the option to select a time lapse recording for 1, 2, 3, 5,
10 frames per second, and you can also select a low bitrate recording as well. So this will work only with a hardware kit. Following this, you can select the parking recording timer, which you can extend up to 48 hours and come down to either 24 hours, that is 1 day, or 12 hours, 8 hours, 6, 4, 3, 2, 1, 30 minutes, or turn it off entirely. Then you have the enter parking mode timer, which you can select to turn off completely, or you can select it at 90 seconds, which means the parking mode will begin only after 90 seconds after the car has turned off. Then you have the parking G sensor option. You can select the sensitivity. You have the parking motion detection, which you can select as medium, low, or high. Then you have the option to rotate the image, mirror the image. Also you have the option to turn on the notification sounds, and you can keep the startup sound only or the button beep only, or you can turn it off completely. So this is also an option which is present there. Then you can enable or disable the voice notification. You can enable or disable the voice control as well. Following this, you have the specific voice commands which you can give for this dash camera. So this gives a list of the voice commands here. You can give these specific voice commands to make the camera work based on your requirement. Now I'm not going to get into the detail of those voice commands in this particular video. So following it, you have the option to enable or disable the GPS. Then you have the speed unit options. Then you have the GPS info stamp option, wherein you can select either to display the speed or coordinates, or only the speed or only the coordinates, or you can turn it off entirely. Then you have the camera model stamp, which means it will display the name of the camera model on the video recorded. You can enable or disable that as well. Then you have the screensaver option, which means the camera will turn off after the selected duration of time. Currently it is set at 30 seconds. So if you want, you can increase up to 3 minutes, and the lowest is about 1 second. Then you have the frequency of video recorded, that is 50 Hz or 60 Hz. Currently it is selected at 50 Hz. Then you have the language option. Then you have the voice notification volume, wherein you can increase or decrease the volume of the dash camera notifications. Then you have the option to format the SD card. Then you can alter with the Wi-Fi name. You can change the Wi-Fi password. You can also give a custom text stamp on the video, and you can also enter the car license number as well. Following this, it is displaying the free space on the currently inserted memory card. And lastly, here you find the option to reset the camera settings to its factory settings. So below in the other options, you have the app version and the firmware version of the dash camera being given right there. So these are all the settings which are present within the VIOFO app, and I think this is a very versatile and a very unique settings which I have seen till date.
So taking a look at the video sample of the Mini 2, now this offers the highest resolution of 2592 into 1944p at 30 frames per second. It also offers a 1440p resolution at 60 frames per second. Now this particular video has a bitrate of about 29,000 kbps, and the file size of this video, which is shot for 1 minute, is about 212 MB. So based on this, you can calculate how many hours of videos your microSD card will hold depending on the storage space of the microSD card. Now this camera has a Sony Starvis 2 IMX675 5 megapixel sensor. Taking a look at the license plate readability, now a very crystal clear image, the vehicle being about a distance of 10 to 15 feet and more or less within the glare of my headlight, the Starvis 2 sensor working its magic and showing that all the letters and numbers are clearly visible in this license plate. Although I must agree it is slightly blurred because the resolution is not up to 4K, but nevertheless this is a very excellent job by the Mini 2 and I'm really impressed with it. The overall night footage from this camera also looks very good. The dynamic range, the color tint, saturation, brightness, contrast levels, all of them looks pretty much balanced and very much natural to the eyes, and there's nothing major to complain about the night footage. Coming to the daytime footage from this camera, now before I talk about the daytime footage quality, let's zoom in directly onto a license plate and show you. Now this was a speeding vehicle from the opposite direction, and still this camera has been able to catch a very good read of the number plate, all letters and numbers clearly distinctively visible, and again slightly blurred out like in the night sample, and this is due to the lesser pixel count compared to a 4K resolution. But overall, for what it's worth, this camera offers some really good license plate readability at close to medium far range. Now talking about the overall video quality, now this was a deeply overcast conditions when I shot this video footage, so it was more or less a very low light condition even during daytime. And in spite of being such low light conditions, this camera has been able to capture all of the details pretty well, including the license plate read which I just showed you, and the overall brightness, contrast and saturation levels again look very much natural. This camera as a whole offers, I think, a really good package in terms of the daytime and the nighttime video quality, and also gives some really exceptional performance in terms of having a good license plate readability. So what do you think? Do you think this camera stands up to its price point? Well, I definitely think the Sony Starvis 2 sensor present in this camera, and this camera being the cheapest camera to be able to have a Starvis 2 sensor, makes this a really worthy buy. And if you're in the market looking for one of the best cameras out there which can capture some really good footage in low light conditions at night and also give you some exceptional license plate readability, the VIOFO A119 Mini 2 will definitely do the job for you. So if you're interested in purchasing this dash cam, the links to purchase it is provided in the description. So just go ahead, click down on the description. You'll find the purchase links along with all the relevant video links as well. So if you have any doubts or queries regarding this dash cam or any other dash cam in general, do write that down in the comments and I'll try to answer them as soon as possible. Also, many more interesting videos are coming up in the future, so make sure you do not miss those videos by hitting that subscribe button of Travel Tech right away and smashing that like button. That's it for today. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.